Hello my beautiful friends, it's Amanda here, and today I have a big old indie brand haul for you. I have a bunch of products that I've collected over the past 8-ish weeks or so. Most of this is stuff I ordered. There are a couple things in here that I got in PR that I wanted to go ahead and include in this video because I really wanted to share it with you. And I want to share swatches. I'm going to try some things on. I'm going to give you my initial thoughts. And you know, we're gonna play with makeup. There's a lot of really pretty packaging, shiny things. You know, I love both of those. I also have an inordinate amount of purple eyeshadows here, which is not a surprise to anyone. So just right off the bat, the things that were sent to me are these Persona blush sticks, the Fantasy Cosmetica Sorcerer palette. This is their newer palette. And then this 1-Up palette from Lethal Cosmetics. Everything else is stuff that I purchased myself. I know if I don't say that now, then I'll forget to say which thing is which along the way. Let's start off with the Persona Blush Multi-Sticks. I'm wearing the shade Teddy, and I'll do a little demo with these for you too, but I am going to show you close-ups and swatches of all three shades first. As of right now, these are the only blush colors available, although I know they do have a little bronzer, contour, highlighter type of products similar to this in the stick format available, but right now they're just these three blush colors. I will say that for just being a 3-shade line, this seems like there is definitely something that's going to suit most people as far as skin tone and style goes. I do hope to see them expand these in the future, but this is a smaller brand, so I feel like for a 3-shade launch, this is a pretty decent way to start, especially because Bubble and Kiss are the type of shades that a lot of people are looking for. A true red, this really lavender looking baby pink are super cute and definitely pretty unique. Now I will say, as far as the lip tint goes, these did not work for me at all. These do say on the packaging that it's a cheek and lip color, and this just looked so weird on my lips. It automatically created this really weird line on the inside, and it also felt super dry despite the fact that I had just done a moisturizing lip mask right before I started filming. So definitely it's a no on the lip color for me, but I actually love this as a cream blush. It looks so beautiful. It's a little bit dewy, but it definitely dried down. It didn't disrupt my makeup underneath. It looks like a really natural little flush. I could layer it up if I wanted it to be more dramatic. Love, love, love it as a blush. Do not love it for lips, personally. Now the rest of this video is eyeshadows. I have an eyeshadow problem. I doubt this is surprising breaking news to anybody. I do have single shadows from 2 different brands here. I ordered both of these myself. These are from Clionadh Cosmetics. These are from Terra. They both released some new single shadows recently, so I did place some little single shadow orders. I also ordered this magnetic palette to put them in, and I really love the look of this. So let's start with the Clionadh shadows, and then I'll show you these Terra shadows. These are from their latest release of singles, and Clionadh sent over some of their new shades to me as PR several days before the launch, but there were a couple more that I wanted to pick up to round out my collection, so I did end up purchasing these on launch day. And just like in my little review video that I did with the PR they sent, I want to show you these swatches in different lighting situations, because I think that's really where you can understand the spectacularness of these particular shadows. If you want to hear more of my thoughts and in-depth review on Clionadh singles, then I'll link that previous video down in the description box for you. Now let's switch gears over to my Terra purchase. Just wanted to show you a quick peek at the outside of this magnetic palette because I think it's really pretty, and a lot of these shadows are celestial themed names, so I like having this little outer space palette to put them in. Is it cheesy? I don't care. I like it, makes me happy. Now, if you want to talk about gorgeous swatches, take a look at these. They are so beautiful. These are definitely a lot more dense pigment-wise, metallic, foil-wise compared to the Clionadh shadows. These are a lot more thick and foily feeling. So I like both. I think they're both great quality. They're just really different. So it depends on what you like as far as which one is quote unquote better. I kind of like having both options because more textures and more shiny things is just always gonna be what I go to. But these are just breathtaking, and I do feel like Terra Moons is a little bit underrated. They deserve more hype. I'm wearing some of these Terra Moons singles on my eyes today. I just figured I wouldn't do a dedicated video on these. So after I show you all the rest of the palettes and the swatches, I will do a little tutorial using these. Next up is this Sorcerer palette. Really excited to see another release from Fantasy Cosmetica. Their debut palette, the Druid palette, is one of my favorites of the year. I really enjoyed it. So I'm thrilled to see them releasing another palette. The Sorcerer palette is the same shape, same size, same price as the Druid palette. Does have a little mirror inside. And of the 9 shades, 4 are mattes and 5 are shimmers. According to the website, all of the shimmers are either duochrome or multichrome shimmers. So this is a very reflective, super foily, shimmery palette. And it's also quite bright compared to the more natural, more earthy tones of Druid. This one is a lot brighter, and I feel like it's laid out in these columns, these vertical trios. So that's how I swatched it. It just makes sense in my head to group them that way. And if you are struggling to use a all very bright palette like this one, I would recommend approaching it in that way because I think these little trio color groups work quite well together. I'm really interested in this brand. I think they've done some nice curated color stories. Seems like there's a really clear vision for the brand. I like that it doesn't feel overworked. It's simple yet not boring. I just feel like Fantasy Cosmetica has come out the gates strong with their first 2 releases. As you could see from the swatches, it performed well, but I do still prefer the colors in the Druid palette. That's just more of a personal style choice, but this is pretty nice. It's pretty nice. More purple eyeshadow. This is from Menagerie Cosmetics. This is the Flight Club palette. I've had this on my wish list for a really long time, and I think that this is a palette that has been reworked, re-released. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like I've wanted this for so long that it's actually gone through a bit of an evolution as a palette. Everything about this packaging works so well for me. I love this iridescent reflective outer box. I will say on the back there's this weird little spot where something's crossed out with the Sharpie. That's kind of strange, but it's whatever. It doesn't really matter. The cool thing is they actually have a whole explanation about pigments and why they're marked as pressed pigments and not eyeshadows and what that means. This is not a very common occurrence. I wish that it was. I wish that there was more transparency about these ingredients and these pigments. And I think that would make it seem like less of a big deal because for a lot of people, it's really not a big deal. I love that they were just so upfront about that. And I wish that more brands would do that. Now, let's talk about these actual eyeshadows. Once I swatched these, I figured out exactly why I had wanted this palette for so long, why I was loving this color story. This is a very similar color story to the It's My Pleasure palette from ColourPop, which is one of my all-time favorite palettes, period. Not just from ColourPop, but in general. This is such a similar vibe, similar color story. I definitely want to swatch these side by side because I feel like, you know, I'm not saying one's a copy of the other or anything like that. Color stories are similar. It happens. There's thousands and thousands of palettes in the world. But once I saw these swatches actually on my arm, it clicked for me that these are definitely a very similar vibe. I wish that this one had some more depth. You can see there are a couple shades in here that are pretty similar, not exact dupes, but pretty similar. So I wish there was a little more depth here. This palette is so super cute. I love the cover art. It's really, really beautifully done. The packaging itself is surprisingly weighty and luxurious feeling. I was expecting something a little bit, I don't want to say flimsier, kind of sounds bad, but I wasn't expecting something that felt this weighty and expensive. So all around, I really like the packaging, both design-wise and the components. Everything just seems really nice. While there are a couple of things personally that I would have tweaked, I would have liked to see just one or two deeper, darker shades. There's this beautiful, super, super dark eggplanty purple all over the outer packaging. So I do wish that we had one or two deeper, darker shades, even if it was just one matte and one shimmer that were dark, to echo this dark coloring on the outer packaging. I feel like that would have rounded out the palette a little bit. There are a lot of mid-tones in here. It does feel like some of the shades are a little bit, they're not exactly the same, but it does feel a little bit redundant in places, so I wish there was just a little bit more contrast with some darker colors. But overall, quality of the shadows, quality of the packaging, design, everything is really nice, and I'm so glad that I finally got something that's been on my wish list for so long. So that's the Flight Club palette. Next up is this 1-Up palette from Lethal. I love Lethal Cosmetics. This is a really fun concept. The packaging is top-notch. You can tell this is all super custom packaging. So let's take a close-up look at the 1-Up palette and the swatches. The outer box isn't anything too fancy, but the palette itself, you can tell, is all custom cut. It's made to look like an old arcade game, and the screen changes. There's actually 3 different screens that appear depending on what direction you're looking at the palette from. The details are just so well done. The theme is really cool. It has a nostalgia factor. This is definitely a really well done, really special palette design. Now, looking inside is kind of where I personally start to get lost here. First and foremost, I know that this is an irregular shape, but I really just don't like it when pans feel all willy-nilly and they're not in, you know, a more straight line formation. Probably doesn't bother everybody. That's fine. I'm not saying it's my way or the highway. It's just personally, the inside is a little discombobulated feeling for me. And then when we get to the swatches, the shimmers are totally fine, very consistent, but the mattes are really off for me. Typically, Lethal mattes are super nice, opaque, very, very consistent, and these are very hit or miss. I know some of them are UV reactive, but it just feels a little off for me. This is a case where I think the packaging is better than the actual product. It's kind of weird because Lethal Cosmetics is such a high-performing brand for me. I've had so much consistent knock your socks off eyeshadows from them. So this does feel just a little lackluster for me. It's not terrible, but between the fact that I do think the shadows themselves aren't quite up to what I expect from Lethal, and just this color palette isn't really personally what I love and reach for all the time. It is for somebody else, it's just not for me. So I do like the packaging better than the actual product on this one, unfortunately. Last, absolutely not least, is this Tropicolor palette from Sydney Grace in collaboration with Tina from the Fancy Face. I ordered this on launch day. It arrived to me like 3 days later, tops. It got here so quickly. I'm super excited to have this in hand. The only reason I didn't use this for the tutorial today is because I think I want to make a dedicated tutorial video with this, like 2 or 3 looks or a palette bingo or something with this, because I really want to spend some more time with this palette. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. She's a real beauty. You know, I'd hate to spoil it for you. Let's take a close-up look at the Tropicolor palette now. The outer packaging definitely has the vacation, tropical, beautiful feel. The colors, the palm trees, the sunshine. I love it. We have a nice big mirror inside this palette, and this palette is expensive. It's $60, but it's an 18 pan palette. There's a lot of shadows in here, and these are full-size shadow pans as well. I had a couple of comments here and there when I posted this on Instagram saying that this doesn't seem like a tropical color palette, and I have to disagree. I think that we have this trope of tropical colors being bright orange and neon pink, and this really feels like a nature inspired color story. I definitely see the bright blues of the ocean, the soft blue of the sky, some lush greens for plants growing, and some sand and rocks, and I feel like this is definitely just tropical in a different way. And we do still have those bright pops of color like tropical punch and sun rays, but it's grounded in a more nature-inspired color story, which I absolutely love. It feels unique and special and wearable, and I love it. Sydney Gray shadows have an incredible reputation for a reason. This palette is no exception to that reputation. Mattes and shimmers alike are beautifully pigmented. They swatch like a dream. They look even better on the eye. They're just beautiful, long-lasting, easy to work with. They have that perfect in-between, not so super pigmented and powdery that they're hard to work with, but they're definitely really giving opacity. The colors show up on the eye just like they look in the swatches. They're just yummy. They're delicious shadows. I am crazy about this palette. I'm so glad I purchased it. Let me know if you want to see more with this, if you want to see some more looks with this, because I will happily film that video. Now I'm going to show you a little eyeshadow tutorial so that you can see some of these Terra Moons singles in action. And instead of voicing over what I'm doing, because I'm not really doing anything super complex technique-wise, I'll just voice over and wrap up my thoughts on which things are my favorites and more middle of the road. I don't really have any duds, just some things I like more than others. So let's go over all of that while you see some of these shadows in action. I'm going to do this semi-ranking style. I would say the top of the tops for me are going to be the Tropicolor palette, the single shadows that I purchased from Terra Moons and Clionadh, and the Fantasy Cosmetica Sorcerer palette. Those are really the best things that I feel the most excited for and feel like are most worth their price. I would say the next tier for me is still really high performing, but maybe just not quite as excitement inducing, would be the Flight Club palette and the Persona blush sticks. Flight Club just needs a little bit more contrast, so I do see it working really well in conjunction with maybe some of my single shadows. But the overall performance and packaging are really high quality, so I still feel like it was worth the price, but it just needs a little tweak to be perfect for me. And the blush sticks performed great as blushes, terrible as lip colors, but I do just think they're a little bit expensive for what they are. They're $26 a piece, and I would feel more happy about, I'd say maybe an $18 price point for these, but they do just feel a little bit expensive for what they are. And then at the bottom of the pile, I guess, let's just say of a good group, this is the thing that I'm least likely to love be enthusiastic about, recommend. That's the 1-Up palette from Lethal Cosmetics. At the end of the day, the packaging is better than the shadows, and they should at least be equal, in my opinion. So, like I said, it's not terrible. It's just not really the right thing for me, and it's definitely not my favorite Lethal palette. Overall, everything is pretty good for me. I'm happy with my purchases. I'm going to continue to use, play with, and maybe film some more videos with these things. But that's just my thoughts. That's just one girl's opinion. Maybe these products suit your personal style or your taste differently, and that is a-okay. That wraps up my little haul. I do have some more indie releases incoming. I have the Kaleidos Night of Creation collection, so I'm going to do a whole video with that. You'll see that next week. And I just missed the release of the Halloween palette from Shroud Cosmetics. I logged on to the website like an hour after it launched and it was already sold out. So congrats to my friend Betty Jean. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for the restock. I will definitely be purchasing that one as soon as I can get my little Halloween loving hands on it. Let me know if you want to see any other videos featuring looks or dedicated reviews or anything with any of the products that you saw in today's video. I always love to hear what you think about things too, so make sure you leave all your thoughts on your favorite recent indie releases. What are you waiting for? What's on your wish list? What are you loving? Tell me everything down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! My hands are so stained from swatching. What happens. Cosmetica, what is this called? Sorcerer. I always want to say Druid because I love that palette so much and it gets stuck in my brain. It's not Druid, it's Sorcerer. This eyeshadow is so gorgeous. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They both released some new nailed it. Already plotting what I should put right here because of who I am as a person. That's not the word. That's not the word. That's the Flight Club. Flight Club. I am absolutely distracted by my own eyeshadow. There's just no two ways about it. Also, look at these little Halloween earrings. Okay, I did release a bunch of fall and Halloween styles. The fall styles have been out for a while, but I kind of early released some of my Halloween designs on my Etsy shop. I still have more Halloween stuff to come later in the month of September, but I just couldn't hold back. I couldn't hold back anymore. I love them so much and I'm in the Halloween spirit already. I'm already solidly purchasing Halloween things, so I figured other people must feel the same way too, right? There are these little black cats sitting on a crescent moon and then there's little stars. They're so cute. I'm not even a cat person and I love these. Back to the video, Amanda. Focus. Matches my nails really well. Look at that matching nail game right there. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I'm fine. I just need some water. My office mate is loud sometimes, but she's cute, so she gets away with it. Purple sparkly eyeshadow and dewy cream blush. Could there be a better look for me? Full Chandler. Alright, I gotta go edit this now. Thanks for watching, thanks for hanging out, thanks for being you, thanks for being so cool. You're the best. I'm glad you're here. And I love your face. And I will see you soon. Okay, bye.